The call for biodiversity conservation of Jipi and Jiso. Deep in the forest of Karbi Anglong, Assam, about 139 kilometers from the district headquarters in Dipu, lie two quiet but powerful natural wonders, Jipi and Jiso. They are not mighty rivers nor snow-capped peaks. They are something far more humble and yet absolutely vital. They are salt lakes. And they are alive with wildlife, culture, and history. For generations, birds and animals have come to Jipi and Jiso to drink and to feed. Today, we take you on a journey to Jipi and Jiso to discover what makes them so unique, why they matter, and what can be done to protect them. What are salt lakes and why do they matter? Let's start with the basics. A salt lake is a natural deposit where animals and birds can obtain essential minerals by licking soil, mud, or water that contains these nutrients. These minerals are vital, especially for herbivores, because their plant-based diet often lack the nutrients they need to stay healthy. At Jipi and Jiso, this mineral-rich soil collects in small waterholes deep in the forest. And every day, wildlife from across the eastern Karbi Anglong Forest Reserve travels here, sometimes from kilometers away, just for a sip or a lick. These salt lakes are nature's pharmacy, and every visit is a dose of life. Jipi and Jiso are located in the Borpung area under the Dokmoka Forest Range of Karbi Anglong. What makes this place even more fascinating is that it's not just home to animals, it's also home to people. Around 21 villages, mostly inhabited by the Karbi indigenous community and the Rengma indigenous community, have lived in and around this forested area since the early 1900s. For over a century, the villagers have practiced subsistence farming, shifting cultivation, and forest-based livelihoods, coexisting with the wild animals that visit the salt lakes. There is a local knowledge here, a quiet understanding of the rhythm of the forest. Elders speak of times when they'd see elephant herds pass by without fear, when the call of a hornbill meant it was time to plant, when the forest and its creatures were not separate from daily life, but a part of it. This human-wildlife coexistence is rare in today's world and worth preserving. But today, things are changing. The balance is being disrupted, and Jipi and Jiso are under growing pressure from multiple fronts. Let's look at the major threats. Hunting and poaching. Traditional hunting practices, once regulated by custom and necessity, have given way to overhunting. The demand for bushmeat, wildlife parts, and even illegal trade has put stress on animal populations. Habitat loss and degradation. With more people and changing land use patterns, forest cover is shrinking. Trees are being felled. Agriculture expansion is creeping into wild zones. The salt lakes, once deep in the wilderness, are now closer to human activity than ever before. Human-wildlife conflict. As animals lose their habitat and food sources, they wander into village farms. Elephants trample crops, wild boars dig up fields. These incidents lead to fear, anger, and sometimes retaliatory killings. Lack of awareness. Perhaps the biggest threat of all is ignorance. Many people living near Jipi and Jiso don't know the ecological value of these salt lakes. They see the animals, but not the intricate web of life at work. And they don't know that natural salt lakes like these are extremely rare even in the biodiversity-rich Northeast. So why does this matter? Why should we care about Jipi and Jiso, because these salt licks are not just muddy waterholes. They are biodiversity hotspots. They are elephant highways. They are cultural landscapes where people and nature have lived side by side for generations. And if we lose them, we don't just lose a spot on a map, we lose an entire ecosystem. The government of Assam declared this area an elephant corridor in 1999, a sign of its critical importance in allowing elephant movement between fragmented forests. But a declaration on paper isn't enough. Protection on the ground is what counts. Conservation is not just about fencing off the forest. It's about education. It's about community involvement. It's about giving people a reason and the means to protect what they have. So, what can be done and what are the solutions? Talking about solutions, community awareness campaigns should be immediately carried out. The villagers should be educated about the rare biodiversity around them. Let them know that what they have is unique and worth preserving. Secondly, ecotourism initiatives should be carried out. There is a strong need to promote low-impact tourism to bring income to the villages. Visitors from across India and the world are seeking authentic nature experiences. Jipi and Jiso could become a model for responsible tourism in the Northeast. There is a strong need to strengthen forest protection laws. The government should enforce stricter anti-poaching measures and regulate forest use, while also recognizing community forest rights and traditional conservation practices. There should also be a scientific monitoring. There is a need to conduct regular studies and wildlife monitoring to understand how the salt licks are being used and how they are changing. There is also a strong need for conflict mitigation programs. The Forest Department should use early warning systems, solar fencing, and compensation schemes to reduce human-wildlife conflict and promote peaceful coexistence. Jipi and Jiso are not famous. You won't find glossy brochures about them in tourist offices. But they are real, they are ancient, and they are alive, with movement, with sound, with memory. A call for conservation of the salt licks should be immediately raised through a plantation drive aimed at restoring the surrounding ecosystem and ensuring the availability of natural mineral resources for wildlife. The initiative to conserve the area will at the same time encourage the communities to protect these vital wildlife resources. Therefore, environmentalists and local communities should join hands in a plantation drive to promote the conservation of salt licks, which play a crucial role in sustaining wildlife health. By planting indigenous tree species, the drive will improve the soil stability, water retention, and shade, creating favorable conditions for salt licks to regenerate naturally. The community's involvement is central to this effort, as their participation helps strengthen the bond between people and the natural environment they coexist with. Salt lick conservation is more than just a wildlife protection measure. It is a step towards ecological measure. It is a step towards ecological balance and sustainable coexistence. Through plantation and continuous awareness, every individual can contribute to protecting these silent yet significant lifelines of the forest. In some areas, however, misunderstanding and fear have led to deforestation and mistrust. Many villagers came to believe that Jipi and Jiso, once revered salt lick sites, were the source of their problems. Over time, This myth grew stronger as communities faced hardships and uncertainty about their land rights. The villagers also felt that since animals and birds frequently visit salt licks to drink water, the forest department took special measures to protect wildlife while the people themselves were left vulnerable and on the verge of evacuation. This perception deepened the divide between the community and the conservation authorities. While the department's intention was to safeguard biodiversity, villagers viewed it as an act of prioritizing animals over human livelihood. As a result, resentment and fear replaced trust, and misunderstanding led to deforestation and neglect of these ecologically rich areas. Adding to their distress, villagers fear displacement not only from their village, but also from their farmland, jhum fields, and everything they have nurtured for generations. For them, the land is not just soil, it is life itself. It is their bread and butter, their source of school fees, and the clothes for their children. Losing it would mean losing their identity, culture, and means of survival. Such fears are deeply rooted, and unless addressed with empathy and assurance, conservation will continue to be seen as a threat rather than a shared goal. It is therefore essential to replace myths and mistrust with hope, understanding, and inclusion. Conservation cannot succeed without the trust of those who live closest to nature. Through continuous dialogue, transparency, and inclusive decision making, communities can once again see Jipi, Jiso, and similar sites as symbols of renewal rather than sources of hardship. When conservation is carried out with compassion and respect, it not only protects nature, but also empowers people to become stewards of the land they love. Conservation should not only protect forests, it should also heal the relationship between people and nature, helping the community rediscover pride in their surroundings. As we speak, somewhere in Karbi Anglong, an elephant is drinking from a mineral-rich pool. A sambar deer is licking the earth. A bird is singing above a canopy that has stood for generations. But these moments are slipping away, one tree at a time, one forgotten story at a time. If we act now, Jipi and Jiso can be saved, not just as a natural salt lick, but as symbols of sustainable living, of balance, of hope. It starts with awareness. It starts with us. Let's listen to the land and the people who live in it, because once the salt is lost, the forest loses its flavor of life.